Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Thursday, August 12th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is in 21 days. Yes, 3 weeks exactly from today. Michigan game, 107 days. Don't make me do the math now. It's a ways off. The Buckeyes are headed into a crucial weekend of fall camp with a scrimmage Saturday. After that, they're hoping to know for sure who their starting quarterback will be, as well as maybe have some answers at a number of other positions around the field. Pretty much every day since the start of fall camp, Buckeye Scoop members have gotten one and often more insider reports on how some of those positional battles are shaking out. The man responsible for most of those is Buckeye Scoop's ultimate insider, Nevada Buck. He's my guest this morning in Nevada. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. Lots of exciting things happen, and so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll have some. We can talk about some other exciting stuff, non football stuff or non on field football stuff a little later on. But I want to start first at quarterback. It is theoretically still an open competition. But every time we see the team practicing, CJ Stroud is always going first. He was pretty much always going first in the spring. I mean, is it safe to say he's very likely going to be the guy this fall for them?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a scenario short of the unthinkable injury, knock on wood, that would keep CJ Stroud from being the starter. And he's been just outstanding this whole fall camp. He carries himself like the starter. The team treats him like the starter. The coaches certainly feel like he's the starter. And he's been really good. I mean, he's been really good and really sharp. So I think the drama there is who's the backup, who's the second string quarterback. And especially with Quinn Ewers coming in, right now they're flopping Kyle McCord and Jack Miller back and forth, both kind of evening out the reps. And neither one of those guys has really been able to distance themselves. Even I think Miller's probably slightly ahead, but that kind of changes day to day. But Stroud's clearly the guy, and after that, it's really kind of a coin flip to see who's going to be second. And the scrimmage is we're going to learn a little bit more scrimmage this Saturday.
And let me know if I'm making too much of this here or overthinking this. But, if Jack Miller came into this spring or into the fall as the number 2 guy, and now that the competition is tightened up and Kyle McCord has a year less of experience than Jack Miller, it feels like it's decently likely that Kyle McCord will jump Jack Miller at some point, if things kind of continue as they have been. Am I reading too much into that, or what's your sense of things?
I think it's just going to depend on so many things, and probably a lot of things that we're not even seeing, how they're doing on the testing. You hate to even speculate on things like this, but who's thinking about transferring out, and, who's going to stick it in for the long term. So, I think a lot of things are going to go into that decision that go beyond the football field. And, like I said, I don't even want to speculate on how that's going to play out, but I know we've got a lot of talented quarterbacks in the room, and only one of them can start. And that's the unfortunate, kind of cruel thing about that position sometimes.
Well, another spot where they have a lot of talent in the room, but you can play multiple guys at the same time, is the running back room. And we have seen and heard a lot about TreVeyon Henderson this fall. You've had a bunch of reports on TreVeyon Henderson, all pretty glowing from what I've read. And, Mayan Williams and Henderson are both pushing hard for reps at running back, along with Master Teague. Do you have a sense for where things stand there right now? Is this, if the Minnesota game was tomorrow, is this just 3 guys are each getting 10, 12 carries, or, how do you think that's going to shake out?
I think if they lined up tomorrow, I think the first carry would go to Mayan Williams. I think he's probably the de facto number 1 running back right now. How they'd split the carries between Mayan and TreVeyon, I think it's going to be, like you said, they're going to try to do a little bit of the share the load early, but eventually it's got to be the TreVeyon Henderson show. I mean, he literally breaks a 60 or 70 yard run every single practice. And the other guys are just kind of in awe. They just sit back and watch. I've never seen anything like it. So I think Ohio State fans are in for a treat. It's only just going to be a matter of time until he becomes the bell cow. Now, is that a guy you want to give the ball to 30 or 35 times a game? I don't know if they'll do that, but he's got to be the dominant force. But after that, it's got to be Mayan. And then, I think after that, Master he'll vulture some carries, maybe get some touchdowns around the goal line. That's kind of a way to pay him off for being such a great teammate and mentor and leader on the team. He's a great individual, but those carries have got to go to Henderson and then to Williams.
The load management there is going to be really interesting because, you always worry about freshmen, true freshmen, especially kind of hitting that freshman wall. You see that, mid-October, late October, early November, where it's just like, well, the high school season was normally over by now, and I'm getting pretty tired and sore. And there's another month or so of the regular season still to go, plus the Big Ten championship game, plus the playoff. I would assume that that's going to have to factor into their thinking a little bit in, the early season is not overworking him. You want, if he really is that kind of explosive talent, you want to get him the ball as much as you can. But I would assume there's something of a balancing act that has to go on there too.
Yeah, they've got to do that, but they also got to win games. And, the first two games, neither one of them are layups, and that actually a lot of, a number of the early games, it's not like the old days where we're starting off with Akron and Joe Bowserman's going to throw for, 350 yards and 4 touchdowns and everything's going to be fine. And when we're starting out on the road at Minnesota, and that is not going to be easy. And then you come right back after that with Oregon. So, I think you're right in one, they want to balance the load. They want to, try to keep things, everybody involved. They want to, avoid injury. They want to avoid the freshman wall. But on the other hand, they got to win football games. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. With a talent like Henderson, you just, you got to get him the ball as much as you can. And that's why they've even had him back on kickoffs, because he's a guy, again, we're going to use him like Penn State used Saquon Barkley. Remember when Saquon, I'm sure we all have nightmares of the 2017 when you returned the kickoff for the opening for the touchdown against us. That's how Ohio State wants to use Henderson. They want to get him the ball as many different ways and creative spots, because he can literally light it up anytime he touches the ball. He's that good.
We have spent a lot of time over the last week talking about, on Buckeye Weekly and on the Morning Scoop, and you and Kirk on Scoop World Order, talking about this shuffle on the offensive line. And, that was something that you first reported. That was one of your insider reports last week. And let's do like confession time. I looked at that and I thought, oh, come on, there's no way they're really going to do that. Like maybe they're trying that for a day or something. There's no way that's actually going to be how they line up when the season starts. And now it sounds like it's very likely to happen. Was that something that you when you heard that last week, was that something you kind of got immediately, or did that take you a little convincing as well to see like they really might actually do this?
Well, here's the thing. I've always been high on DeJuan Jones. And, and the reason that I'm high on DeJuan Jones is because I've heard so many good things about him within the program. They talk about him, literally, I had coaches say he's a first round NFL draft talent. I mean, that's how talented this guy is. If he can just, string, multiple good plays together, have his conditioning, hold his form, do the types of things that you need to do to be elite. If he can do that, and the sky's the limit for him. So, when I heard that they were, sliding Munford down to guard and moving DeJuan to right tackle and moving NPF over to the left tackle, the reason it made sense is because it fits the skill sets of the guys. If you think about it, NPF really is more of a dancer and, really perfectly suited for that left tackle spot. Thayer's probably going to need to be able to play guard in the NFL, so that makes sense. Harry, smart as a whip and a rock at center. Paris has just been a road grader at right guard. And then at least DeJuan, who's your classic right tackle. He's a puncher. He's a guy that'll just go out there and just wall off one side of the line. So I like what it gave. It made sense to me intuitively. And usually when something makes sense to me intuitively, the Ohio State does the opposite. But in this case, they did it, and they've been sticking with it now. Like they may change it next week. They could say, "Yeah, that's a bad idea, and we're going to scrap this whole thing." But my hunch is that we're going to see a lot of that line. But you're going to see a lot of other guys working their way in that, because it's a deep line. You've got 10 or 11 guys that can play, and I can't ever remember being able to say that, with any type of certainty.
Yeah, you go back to 2017, going into 2018, like when they brought Enoch Vamahi in, like very, very late in the recruiting cycle. It was like dire straits in that room. They were down to 11 or 12 scholarship guys. I mean, not very many, and they were desperate for depth. And now it's like, I'm with you. It's like the deepest Ohio State offensive line I can remember. And there's just, there are multiple possible correct answers here. It's not like, well, if these 5 guys are out there, they'll be okay. And otherwise, if someone gets hurt, like it gets troubling pretty quickly. There are a lot of good answers out there in that 2 deep. On the other side of the ball, you've had some interesting nuggets in JT Tuimoloau and just how impactful he's been so far and kind of early going in practice. I have tried not to oversell him because that's kind of a tough spot to put a true freshman in. But from your insider reports, it is really sounding like he is likely to contribute in some form this fall.
No, they definitely they want him to contribute, and I won't say they need him to contribute, but they certainly want him to be a contributor. And he's a guy that's really he came in really late into the process, so you kind of expected that he'd either pick it up or fall behind really quickly, and he's picking it up. He really is taken to the coaching. I think he's out there the first few practices. Things are moving pretty fast, and he's just kind of out there thinking a lot. And now I think they're putting him in spots where he can just kind of let it go, let his athleticism shine. And I know that Ohio State's excited about him. I know he's playing well, and will he be? He won't start, but he's definitely going to be in the two deep, and he's going to be a guy that you're going to see situationally. And when he's out there, I think he'll do a nice job.
All right, last thing I wanted to ask you about on the insider reports is the defensive backfield. I mean, the Buckeyes brought in a loaded class of defensive backs this year. They did last year as well. But it sounds like Denzel Burke is really making a push to be the first of the guys from this year's class to make a potential impact this season.
Yeah, he's played well. He's played well. He's what I think has really impressed the Ohio State coaches is his willingness to mix it up in the running game and stick his nose right in there, as opposed to just being a coverage guy. And he's hard nosed. He's smart. He's going up against the best wide receiving core, the best top three wide receivers for sure in the country, and probably the best second three wide receivers in the country every day in practice. So he's getting better, and really liking what I'm hearing from the OSU staff about him. They're really excited about him, and he's getting better and better with each and every practice. So he's definitely one to watch for.
All right, and last thing before I let you go, as those lovely folks out in podcast land may have heard, we're making a movie. The documentary Fight for Football, Saving the 2020 Season will be out later this month. You can find a trailer at BuckeyeScoop.com right now or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BuckeyeScoop. We're also having a very special members-only event to premiere that a little later on in the month in Columbus. So let people know about that and how they can potentially be a part of that event.
Well, we're premiering it on Monday, the 30th of August, and we're allowing Scoop members to have the first chance to come watch the movie. It's going to be the Lennox Theater. I'm going to be there. Bill Green's going to be there. Kirk Barton, Mark Givler, the whole Tony, Tom, the whole staff. Everybody's going to be there, and which is really, that in and of itself is pretty rare. But as you mentioned, a theatrical quality documentary. A lot of the unknown story behind the cancellation and the restarting of football last year in the Big Ten, and it's you never know on these when you start up making these documentaries, they're going to turn out very good. This one's turning out really well, and I think people are going to love it when they go see it. It's just going to be excited to see somebody of the Scoop family there that evening as well. So like I said, I'm flying out to California for it, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that is something we've been working on that for a little while, and we waited until Wednesday this week, which is the 1-year anniversary of the Big Ten canceling the season, to drop the trailer and let people know what we were working on. We shot some of that at Big Ten Media Days. I'm not sure the Big Ten would have been thrilled about it if they knew what we were talking about, but we did that had a crew there at Big Ten Media Days to get interviews with a few different people, because we have a lot of people from different schools. This is not solely an Ohio State thing. This is not solely a Nebraska thing. This is not solely an Iowa thing. We got people from all over. We got Alabama, we got Clemson. We've got some national folks in there as well, and some OSU players, some OSU parents. There's a lot of different points of view in there to kind of give you a full look at kind of the inside story on how that season got canceled, how that season got saved. And it is, they're obviously not done editing it yet. They're still working on it, but I have seen the whole script, and I think it's pretty darn good. I'm pretty darn excited about it. So yeah, that's if you want to see that in person at the Lennox Theater and have a live Q&A with Buckeye Scoop staff and probably some other special guests that night, all you have to do is become a member of BuckeyeScoop.com, and you will have potential access to that. That is exclusive to Buckeye Scoop members. So you need to sign up today at BuckeyeScoop.com. And lucky you, if you sign up today, not only does that include the right to go to that event, it also includes the first couple of games of the season. So the Minnesota and Oregon games we were talking about earlier, your first month at Buckeye Scoop, now falls within those 2 games fall within your first month at Buckeye Scoop. So your price of a lousy chain store pizza now gets you the opportunity to come see the documentary, couple real intriguing early season games, and then you can decide if you want to stick around. I have a sneaking suspicion you'll decide to stick around because it is a fantastic team of insiders. Nevada Buck has been churning out incredible insight and information from inside practice for the last week or so. I think he may be single-handedly responsible for a dip in productivity in the Ohio workforce over the last week, because people are just refreshing, waiting because they know another insider report's coming and they want to see it as quickly as they can. So that's all at BuckeyeScoop.com. Do also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little Buckeye Scoop logo that's going to come up on a little circle on the right-hand side of the screen in just a second. If you click on that, all you have to do is just click on that and it will let you subscribe to our channel. And then you get notified every time we post a new video. So we're going to have a whole bunch of videos and trailers and promo clips and samples of the documentary up there in the coming weeks. We also have a whole bunch of practice reports, interviews with players and coaches, all of our great podcasts. It's all at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. All you have to do is subscribe and you get notified every time we post a new video so you never miss a thing. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.